Hello, everybody. It's Aaron. Welcome to another episode of SolitaryCraft. As you can see, the oil is no more. I went over to the desert in that direction and I pumped out a couple more oil things that I found, and we have filled up this tank at least halfway. I thought it didn't make there just because of the way those things look. We've got 12,000 buckets. We're going to start refining this. Before we do that, I want to say I'm going to put a world download up with this episode, and I'm going to give you the disclaimer. I deleted all the Miscraft ages, so if you go to one, make sure you have a link book to get back, or else you're going to have to do some creative hacking. I actually generated a few more random ones, and I found some interesting things. I found one with a biofuel instead of water, one with creosote ponds, one with cryothium. I brought back a few tanks of that. I'm not sure what to do with it. One with a milk ocean. I don't remember what's in that one. Molten glass, and another one with biofuel, but it's really shallow. So I have also updated the pack. We now have advanced solars. They took away that dynamic lighting, which is fine with me. It wasn't that big of a deal. But as you can see, we now have forge multi-part support for conduits. So you don't see any conduits running through the floor here anymore because I covered them all up. It was kind of a pain. I did have to pick up all the old conduit item ducts and fluid ducts and then craft them into the new thing. But it's better overall, so I don't really mind. One other thing I did was the way I had my water running before. It was coming down from the endless water thing up by the tree farm. When I went to replace the fluid ducts, they kept connecting to the steam dynamos. So I went ahead and we'll have to go back downstairs. I made another infinite water source from that mod. I think it's Ganny's mod. I just put it on the bottom of the boiler there. And if we make another boiler, I'll put it in the middle and run pipe across. But what I want to do today first, I want to make a fluid storage bus. I've already made all the recipes. I want to make a 64K fluid storage. I don't know if we'll be able to pull that off. Hopefully we have the resources. But I want to start with a fluid storage bus first. Put it on the tank down there. I would think that it has to be touching a valve, but you never know. So I'll just put it on the tank, maybe. And now we'll go upstairs and see if it shows up on the fluid terminal. It does not. So let me grab a valve. I didn't think that would work, but I wanted to try it. You'd assume it had to be connected to a valve. So we'll put a valve right here and we'll just run more cable and move this thing down. I just figured it was worth a shot. Okay, hopefully I think my cable is connected. It looks like it is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I didn't mess that up. Okay, now that we're on a valve, we can see we're not in millibuckets anymore because of the amount we have. It just shows us buckets. So what I want to do is make a couple of fluid export buses and import buses. I actually have one of each already. Okay, and I've already run the cable. I want to make 2 refineries. I've already got the recipe set. And I figure we'll just do this all with the fluid stuff, because why not? So if we get a bucket of oil, and I got a lot of going up and down levels here. I figure what we can do is we'll just put the refineries right here, and we'll power them with the dynamos. I can add a couple more if necessary. One thing I didn't take into account, you know, when you use railcraft engines, you have to put levers on them. So I left the middle row blank here. I didn't put anything there. But since these will work on a low redstone signal, you can totally fill up one side of these with dynamos without issue. So let's connect the fluid export buses first, and we'll just put them in on this side. I don't think it really matters what side they go on. And I don't know how temporary of an operation this is going to be, so I haven't bothered to put facades on the cable yet. But we may do that. I may have to make some more facades because I ran out. Okay, so we will set this one for oil. And we'll set this one for oil. These things, when they're running as fast as they can, they turn green. I don't remember the power requirements, but these guys put out 80 RF a tick, which I think is 8 MJ. And they're only doing 4 right now because there was really no place for the energy to go. The conduits store a little, but these guys are working really fast. So let's make a 64K cell so we have a place to put some of this fluid. I probably should have started that before we hook that up, but that's okay. And I think you can pre-format these, but I'm not going to worry about pre-formatting. I'm just going to let the system handle it. It's probably going to have to make a lot of nether quartz and fluix dust. Hopefully my pulverizers are not busy. They're doing other things right now. I had some ores left over in the system. And if we have to craft fluix, then let's just turn that off for now. All right, maybe that'll work. I don't know. If we do have to cook anything, it should cook right up since there's nothing in it. This one is kind of a pain. I cannot reach this export bus without removing that block, so I may just leave that space empty. Another thing I totally forgot about, I need to make a couple more patterns. When I set up the thing for the conduits, which works fine, I did not take into account the redstone energy cell frames and stuff. So what happens is the energy cell frame gets sent to the transposer automatically. We should see it pop back here in a minute. If I just craft an energy cell, it won't work because it doesn't know how to get the filled energy cell frame. So what we will need to do is we'll need to put an interface on here with the recipe so it knows. And I guess we just drop below 50 buckets and it sent more redstone, so we're all set. See, so now we have this energy cell frame. Now I can craft it into a redstone energy cell, but if I want to just make one, it doesn't really know what to do because it works backward. It cannot get the filled energy cell frame because there's no recipe in an interface right there. So we'll fix that a little later. I'll get rid of that. We don't need it. We're still making some of this stuff. And that should be it. Look at that. Boom. 64K fluid storage. I don't remember how many bytes a bucket takes up. The other thing I want to do, and I'm going to do this after the episode, I need to make bigger storage for regular items. I think I might make a 256K or a few of them instead of 64Ks. If we look at the recipe for this, it's a kilo storage cluster. One storage cluster goes into a 64K disk normally, I believe. So, right. So I think I might try to make a few of these if I have enough quartz. I don't know if we're gonna have enough, but we've got plenty of fluid stuff now. So let's put our import buses on these refineries, and they're already full. Those things worked really quickly for us. Let's knock out one block here, since it's temporary. And there it goes. Awesome. The one thing about the fluid interface I didn't consider is that you can pump items into it just like a regular interface, or rather pump fluids into it just like a regular interface. So if you have a tesseract and you're tesseracting things, you can totally do it that way. If we have a storage bus on a tank, it should go to the tank just like it would if we had items in a deep storage unit. So now we've got fuel in here. This is probably about as fast as we pump it, since there are 2 refineries going. So if I had bothered to make a big disc before, we could have put the oil on it too, but I figure we have all that steel, we might as well make a tank. And this thing still doesn't have any fluid on it. So I may need to do some pre-formatting just so that one only has fuel. Speaking of pre-formatting, I'm not going to do that for the other drives, but what we do need to do, we need to make an I/O port. I don't think I have the ME drive recipe in there, but I think I can do it. Yep. All right. So the I/O port will let you move items to or from your network, from like back and forth to disks. So when I do my upgrades, let's say this one is actually empty. Let's make a 64K. How about that? And we really only need one of them. That thing actually worked pretty fast. All right, here's our 64K. What we can do is we can actually, these are, well, that one's not empty. We put our 64K in here. We can tell it to go from disk to network or network to disk. If you pre-format and you want to put everything on a big disk, this is how you do it. You partition edit the disk, say with, I don't know, cobblestone or whatever. You go from network to disk. It'll pull all of the cobblestone out of your network, put it on a disk. Be careful you don't have a deep storage unit on there, unless you're doing something like making a singularity, which we will do later. So we'll switch that direction back. We'll put this in here. We see it empty. And now we have an empty 4K storage. And we've got some items on that disk. So then if you shift right click your small disks, you get the storage segments back, which you can then use in your bigger recipes. I don't know. I think you actually can use the storage cell housing. Let's put all this stuff back in here. I think we want to make a cluster. If we get one of those, I think we can put it back in the housing and make a 64K disk out of it, rather than craft the whole disk from scratch. And now we have to make more silicon and cook up more of those. Figures. I'll let this finish and I'll be right back. Alright, I've got my storage cluster. We'll get the housing back. Pretty sure we can just do this. And then we have a 64K disk. So that's an easy way to upgrade your storage. If you have empty disks, that is. So I'm going to upgrade all of these guys. And I should have plenty of room since I'm going to have one empty disk no matter what. So I'm going to do that in between episodes. And I may make a couple of 256Ks like I said. Just to see how much we can actually fit on them. So I need to turn these back on before I forget, because otherwise when I run a quarry again, everything is just going to pile up in there. So let's see how much fuel we have. I don't know what we're going to do with the fuel, but we're gaining it rather quickly. So that is pretty awesome. So that's going to do it for this episode, guys. I wanted to do one other thing, but we don't really have time. There's a magnet. I should have just typed magnet. If you put it on your hotbar, it's kind of like the coin of fortune. And it's not that tough to make, since I do have endstone, you know. So I may make one of these. If you put it on your hotbar, shift right click. Actually, let's just do it. I may have to cook some quartz, I do, or craft the quartz however you're supposed to craft it. I'm not that familiar with it. Oh, you just craft it. Let's make a quarter of a stack of this so I can upgrade the magnet if I want. And I didn't find a sea of gold, unfortunately, so I have to make my blocks manually. We'll just make 4 of those. And we're going to need some compasses also, but that's easy. So we'll make this thing. And we'll put it back in here. And then we just do this. And we got this magnet. I don't think the level 0 is that powerful. But when you right click it, you see the little animation, and then if you drop stuff, it sucks it back into your inventory. It makes a little noise. It's kind of annoying after a while, but this thing really comes in handy if you're mining a ravine above lava, if you're still mining at this point. I do occasionally. For me, when I go get apatite or something, since Vein Miner works with apatite, if you shift and then, you know, mine it, you get the whole cluster. The magnet is really good for that because it'll suck everything into your inventory. And like I said, there are different levels. Level 8 obviously being the strongest, and it has the largest radius. So eventually I'll work my way up to that. But this one will be good for now. Just when I break blocks, I don't have to make sure I walk over them. And when you're working around the multi-part stuff, sometimes, you know, stuff will fall in between a crack or whatever. And this kind of makes it a little less of a pain. So now that'll do it. Like I said, for the world download, here's your second disclaimer. All the Mistcraft ages, except for the Quarry age, I think, has a book. None of the rest of them have a book. So if you go through, make sure you bring a link book with you, or you'll have to do some finagling to get back to the real world. So that's going to do it, guys. If you have any questions, comments, etc., please leave them down below. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.